They say respect is earned. Wrong. That night it was demanded. Demanded by a woman with burned hands and a $200,000 debt, staring down a monster who could have killed her with a thought. This is the story of how one sentence changed everything. The neon sign above Rosie's diner flickered with a rhythm that had become white noise to Isabel Thorne. Buzz, click, buzz, 2:47 in the morning on a Tuesday, and the sound was almost comforting in its predictability. Almost. The diner sat on the edge of Chicago's industrial Fourth Ward, wedged between a shuttered steel mill and a parking lot that hadn't seen fresh asphalt since the Reagan administration. The kind of place where people came to disappear, not to be seen. Where the coffee was strong, the questions were few, and the fluorescent lights cast everything in a shade of exhausted yellow. Isabel moved through the space like a woman who had walked these floors 1,000 times before. Because she had 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, for the past 3 years. Her white sneakers squeaked against linoleum that had been mopped so many times the pattern had worn down to ghost marks. Her apron, once crisp and white, now bore the evidence of 100 spilled coffees and 1,000 rushed orders. She was 42 years old. Her hands were strong, but scarred. Her shoulders carried weight that had nothing to do with the coffee pot she refilled for Miller at the counter. Miller, 73 Vietnam vet, came in every night at 2 a.m. like clockwork. Ordered the same thing, black coffee, toast dry, never spoke unless spoken to. Tonight, he grunted as she poured. Thanks, Izzy. She nodded. Isabel, not Izzy. But she'd stopped correcting people years ago. It cost energy she didn't have. The diner smelled like it always did. Grease from the fryer, bleach from the mop bucket in the back. Something indefinably metallic that came from the heating vents. And underneath it all, rain. Chicago rain, the kind that seeped into everything, made the whole world feel damp and cold, even indoors. Outside, the storm hammered against the windows, sheets of water that blurred the streetlights into halos. The kind of night where decent people stayed home, where only the desperate, the lost, and the hunters came out. Isabel didn't know it yet, but tonight, all three would walk through that door. She wiped down the counter. Her wrist ached. It always did around this time of the shift. Old injury from Iraq. Medic convoy 2006. IED en route Irish. She'd pulled 2 soldiers out of a burning Humvee before the blast caught her. Fractured radius, nerve damage. The Army gave her a Purple Heart and a medical discharge. Iraq gave her nightmares and a wrist that screamed when the weather changed. The bell above the door chimed. Isabel didn't look up immediately. She'd learned to read customers by their footsteps first. Truckers walked heavy. Drunks stumbled. Cops moved with a specific rhythm, weight distributed like they expected trouble. These footsteps were different, measured, deliberate. Expensive shoes on wet linoleum, the kind of shoes that cost more than her monthly rent. She glanced up. The man in the doorway wasn't just out of place. He was wrong. Wrong in a way that made the hair on her arm stand up, made some primitive part of her brain scream, predator. He was tall, 6'2", maybe 6'3". Mid-30s if you didn't look too close, older if you did. He wore a charcoal suit that fit like it had been tailored to his exact measurements. No tie, white shirt open at the collar. His hair was black, slicked back, and his skin had a pallor that might have been the lighting but probably wasn't. His eyes, though. His eyes were the color of ice in deep water, pale blue, almost colorless. And when they fixed on Isabel, she felt the weight of them like a physical thing. 2 men flanked him, both in dark suits, both moving like trained killers. They didn't sit. They positioned themselves at strategic points in the diner, one near the door, one near the kitchen, security detail. The man in the charcoal suit walked to booth 4 in the back, the one with the torn vinyl seat that Isabel kept meaning to duct tape. He slid in smoothly, didn't look at the menu, just stared out the window at the rain. Miller's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. Even he sensed it. The shift in the room, the way the temperature seemed to drop 3 degrees. Isabel took a breath, grabbed her order pad, crossed the floor. Up close, the wrongness intensified. The man didn't blink enough, didn't breathe in any rhythm she could detect. And when she got within 3 feet of the booth, the air felt colder, actually measurably colder. "Coffee?" she asked. Her voice came out flat, professional. The tone she'd perfected over 3 years of dealing with handsy drunks and entitled businessmen. The man turned his head slowly, like it took effort, like he was moving through water. "I ordered 10 minutes ago." His voice was smooth, cultured. British accent, maybe. Old money. But underneath the velvet, there was something else. A vibration. A frequency that made her back teeth ache. Isabel blinked. "Sir, you just walked in. I haven't taken your order yet." "A steak." He tapped one finger against the table. The sound was too loud. Wrong. Rare. Bleeding. She kept her expression neutral. "Kitchen's closed for grill items. Fryer only. I can get you fries, onion rings, maybe a grilled cheese if you're patient." The air around the booth shifted. It was subtle, like heat shimmer, but cold. The man's jaw tightened. Just a fraction. Just enough. "Do you know who I am?" Isabel had heard that line before, from CEOs slumming it after bar close. From politicians who thought their ward alderman title meant something at 3 a.m. in a diner that barely passed health inspection. She met his ice-water eyes. "I know you're a guy who wants a steak at 2:47 in the morning in a place that serves hash browns and disappointment. So, fries or onion rings?" For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the man stood, not slowly, not gradually. One moment he was seated, the next he was on his feet, looming over her. The movement was too fast, impossible fast. Her combat training screamed at her to step back, to create distance, but her body didn't obey. He slammed his hand down on the table. The sound was like a gunshot. The formica surface cracked, a spiderweb fracture that spread from his palm, splitting the cheap laminate like it was glass. Coffee cups on other tables rattled. The fluorescent light above them flickered. "I demand proper service." The roar wasn't just loud, it was a physical force. It rattled the ketchup bottles. It made the windows vibrate in their frames. Miller ducked his head at the counter. The 2 security men moved, hands going inside their jackets, reaching for weapons. The entire diner held its breath. Isabel Thorne had been afraid before. She'd been afraid in Iraq when the mortars fell. She'd been afraid when the doctors told her about Owen's leukemia. She'd been afraid every time she checked her bank account and saw the numbers that meant her sister's son might not get his next treatment. But fear and action were different things. She felt the fear. She just didn't let it move her. Instead, she took half a step forward, into his space, close enough to smell whatever cologne he wore, something expensive and faintly metallic, close enough to see that his pupils didn't dilate like a normal person should in the dim diner light. She set the coffee pot down on the cracked table, hard. Hot liquid sloshed over the rim, pooled on the broken surface. Her voice dropped, low, lethal, every word deliberate. "Shout at me again and this ends. I don't care who you are. I don't care who your daddy is. I don't care how much that suit cost." She jabbed a finger toward the door. "You treat me with respect, or you get out, right now." Silence. 1 second, 2, 3. The man's nostrils flared. He inhaled, sharp and sudden, like he was tasting the air. His eyes widened. Just a fraction. Surprise. Actual, genuine surprise flickering across features that had probably forgotten what surprise felt like. He looked at her. Really looked at her. Not at a waitress, not at an obstacle. At Isabel Thorne, ex-Army medic, aunt to a 9-year-old boy fighting for his life. Woman who'd pulled burning men from wreckage and held their hands when they died. Woman who had nothing left to lose and therefore nothing left to fear. The security men tensed. One of them took a step forward. The man in the charcoal suit raised one hand, a subtle gesture. "Stop." He sat back down, slowly this time, deliberately, never breaking eye contact with Isabel. A smile touched his lips. It wasn't warm. It was the smile of a predator recognizing another predator. Respect, maybe, or fascination. "Fries?" he said softly. His voice had lost the rage, replaced by something quieter, more dangerous. "And coffee. Black." Isabel held his gaze for one more heartbeat, asserting dominance, claiming the moment. Then she nodded. Coming right up. She turned, walked back to the kitchen. Her knees didn't start shaking until she was out of sight. Her hands trembled as she dumped frozen fries into the basket. Adrenaline crash. Combat response. She knew the signs. Marco, the night cook, poked his head out from where he'd been hiding near the walk-in freezer. "Jesus, Izzy, you got a death wish?" "Just doing my job. That guy ain't normal." "They never are." She plated the fries 10 minutes later. Added a side of ketchup she didn't charge for because somewhere underneath the fear and exhaustion, she believed in doing things right. Poured the coffee, black, strong enough to strip paint. When she returned to booth 4, the man was staring out the window again. Rain streaked the glass, neon reflected in distorted colors. He looked almost human in that light, almost. She set the plate down, the coffee mug. He didn't acknowledge her immediately. Then, "What's your name?" She almost didn't answer. Almost. But something in his tone wasn't a demand. It was a question. Actual curiosity. "Isabel. Isabel." He repeated it like he was testing the weight of it. "You have fire, Isabel. I have bills. Fire doesn't pay them." A ghost of a smile. "No, it doesn't." He ate the fries in silence, drank the coffee in 3 long swallows that should have burned his throat, but didn't seem to. When he was done, he stood, pulled a money clip from his jacket. The clip was gold, not plated, solid gold. Heavy enough that Isabel could see the weight of it in his hand. He peeled off bills, not 20s, not 50s, hundreds, 8 of them. He set them on the table, tucked them under the salt shaker so they wouldn't blow away when the door opened. Then he pulled a napkin from the dispenser, withdrew a pen, expensive and heavy, and wrote something in sharp, angular handwriting. He placed the napkin on top of the money. "You have fire, Isabel Thorne. Don't let it die before I see you again." He knew her last name. She hadn't told him her last name. Before she could ask, he was gone. The 2 security men following. The door chimed. Rain and wind gusted in. Then silence. Isabel stood there for 10 seconds before moving. She picked up the napkin. $8,000. $8,000. Underneath the bills, written in that precise script, Alaric Ravenshade. "You impressed me. That's rare." And a phone number. Her hands shook. Not from fear this time, from the sheer weight of possibility. $8,000. Owen's next treatment was $7,000. The hospital had given her until Friday to pay, or they'd discharge him to comfort care only. Comfort care. Medical speak for letting a 9-year-old boy die. She looked at the money, at the name, at the cracked table where a man who moved too fast and felt too cold had roared at her like a monster. Rosie's diner settled back into its normal rhythm. Miller finished his coffee. The rain kept falling. The neon kept buzzing. But Isabel Thorne knew, bone deep, that nothing would ever be normal again. The next 3 days were a blur of paranoia and desperate hope. Isabel deposited the money in increments, 500 here, 1,000 there, different ATMs, different banks. She wasn't stupid. Money like that, appearing from nowhere, raised questions. Drug money, maybe. Theft. The kind of attention she couldn't afford, but the bills were real. She had them checked. Old bills. Sequential numbers, yes, but not flagged. Clean. She paid the hospital. All $7,000. The relief on the billing coordinator's face was almost worth the strangeness of how she'd gotten it. "Ms. Thorne, we were about to discharge Owen tomorrow. This covers him through the end of the month. Through the end of the month. 30 days. Then the cycle would start again. Chemotherapy, radiation, medications that cost more per dose than she made in a week." She visited Owen that evening after her shift. He was awake, reading a comic book that Sienna, his favorite nurse, had brought him. He looked small in the hospital bed. Too small. 9 years old and already intimately familiar with IV poles and vomit bags and the particular smell of antiseptic that meant safety. "Aunt Izzy!" His face lit up. What was left of his hair, thin from the chemo, stuck up in tufts. He'd lost weight. The cancer did that. Leukemia, acute lymphoblastic. The doctor said his odds were 60-40. 60% chance of remission if the treatment continued uninterrupted. 40% chance she'd bury him next to his mother. Isabel's sister Caroline had died 2 years ago. Overdose. Heroin. Left Owen alone except for an aunt who worked graveyard shifts at a diner and could barely keep herself afloat. "Hey, kiddo." Isabel sat on the edge of the bed. Owen immediately leaned into her. She wrapped an arm around his thin shoulders. "How are you feeling?" "Okay. Threw up twice today, but Nurse Sienna said that's normal." Normal. What a word to use for poison being pumped into a child's veins. "You're tough, you know that? Army tough, like you." She smiled. "Tougher than me." They sat like that for 20 minutes. Owen told her about the comic book, about the new kid in the room next door who had the same kind of cancer, about how the cafeteria jello was red today instead of green. Normal things, kid things. When visiting hours ended, Isabel kissed the top of his head. "I'll be back tomorrow night. You need anything?" "Nah, I'm good." Liar. He was 9 and dying and trying to be brave, but she let him have it. Dignity mattered, even for children, especially for children. She walked out of Chicago Memorial into the parking lot. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy with moisture. October in Chicago, the kind of cold that got into your bones. She dug her keys out of her purse. 37-year-old Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door and an engine that coughed like a lifelong smoker. But it ran. Mostly. She didn't notice them until they were already surrounding her. 3 of them. Men, if you could call them that. They moved wrong. Too fluid, too fast. One moment the parking lot was empty. The next, they were there. The leader stepped into the wash of the streetlight. Isabel's combat instinct screamed. His eyes were yellow. Actually, physically yellow. Jaundiced, maybe, except the whites were bloodshot red. His teeth, when he smiled, were filed to points, metallic. Wrong. His skin looked sallow, gray-green, like meat that had been left out too long. The smell hit her. Rot, decay, copper. "There she is." His voice sounded wet, phlegmy. "The one Ravenshade likes." Isabel's hand went to her purse. She carried pepper spray. It was Chicago. You didn't walk around unarmed. "I don't know what you're talking about." She kept her voice level, looked for exits, 3 of them, one of her, car 20 feet away. Too far. The creature laughed. It sounded like choking. "Don't play dumb, sweetheart. We can smell him on you, his scent, his interest." The other 2 moved closer. Flanking positions. Military tactics. These weren't random muggers. Ravenshade thinks he can walk among humans, thinks he can have pets. The leader took another step forward. "We're going to send him a message. Nothing personal." He lunged. Isabel had the pepper spray up and firing before conscious thought kicked in. The stream caught him full in the face. He didn't even flinch. Just swiped the canister out of her hand. The metal crunched in his grip like aluminum foil. He grabbed her by the throat, lifted her off the ground. His hand was cold, ice cold, and strong, impossibly strong. Isabel kicked out, connected with his knee. It was like kicking concrete. He didn't budge. "Ravenshade's gonna find pieces of you scattered across 3 states, gonna make him watch you bleed." Isabel clawed at his hand. Her vision started to tunnel. Black spots at the edges. She'd been choked before. Training exercises. She knew how long she had. 30 seconds before unconsciousness. 90 before brain damage. She had maybe 15 left. Then, the wind changed. Not changed. Displaced. Like something had moved through it faster than air could fill the space. The hand around her throat disappeared. Isabel dropped. hit the pavement hard, gasped. Her throat screamed. She rolled to her hands and knees, coughing, trying to force air into her lungs. When her vision cleared, the leader of the group was gone. Not gone. Headless. His body stood for a moment, arterial spray painting the asphalt black in the sodium light. Then it collapsed, started dissolving, turning to ash. Standing where he'd been was a woman, tall, maybe 5'10". She wore tactical gear under a long coat, black on black. Her hair was platinum blonde, cut short, almost military. In her right hand she held a sword, curved, silver. Blood, or whatever passed for blood in those creatures, dripped from the blade. Her face was expressionless, cold, professional. The other two creatures hissed, actual hisses, like snakes. They backed away. "Leave," the woman said. Her voice was flat. No emotion, no inflection. Or join him. They didn't need to be told twice. They vanished. Actually vanished. 1 second there, the next gone, leaving only the smell of rot behind. The woman flicked the blood off her sword, sheathed it in a scabbard on her back with a movement so practiced it was automatic. Then she turned to Isabel, offered her hand. "My name is Sienna Frost. I'm the head of Mr. Ravenshade's security detail. You need to come with me." Isabel stared at the hand, at the dissolving corpse behind the woman, at the parking lot that had just become a battlefield. What the hell were those things? Ferals, low-level vampires, rejected by the houses. They live in the sewers and feed on whoever they can catch. Vampires. The word hung in the air like smoke. Isabel started laughing, couldn't help it. Hysterical edge to it, sure, but also genuine absurdity. She'd just been attacked by vampires in a hospital parking lot. Vampires. This is insane. Yes, Sienna's expression didn't change. But it's also real, and those ferals were sent by someone. They knew you'd met Lord Ravenshade. They were going to kill you and leave your body as a message. Lord Ravenshade, the man from the diner. I just served him fries. You looked him in the eye. You told him no. No human has done that in 50 years and lived. Sienna tilted her head slightly. He's intrigued. And because he's intrigued, you're now a target for his enemies. Isabel pushed herself to her feet. Her throat ached. She could feel the bruises forming. Tomorrow she'd have handprints on her neck. I didn't ask for this. No one does. Sienna gestured to a black SUV parked 3 spaces over. Isabel hadn't noticed it before. But you accepted his gift. The money. That means you're under his protection now, whether you want it or not. Protection? I almost died. You're alive. That is the protection. Sienna opened the passenger door. If I hadn't been here, you'd be a pile of ash. Lord Ravenshade ordered me to watch you the moment you left the diner 3 nights ago. Isabel looked at the SUV, at Sienna, at the parking lot where a creature out of nightmare had just dissolved into nothing. She thought about Owen upstairs, about the hospital bill that would come due again in 30 days, about the money in her account that had appeared from a man with ice-water eyes who'd cracked a table with his bare hand. She thought about the napkin with the phone number she hadn't called. "Where are you taking me?" "Ravenshade Tower, downtown. Lord Ravenshade needs to speak with you. It's not a request." "And if I say no?" Sienna's expression finally shifted. Just slightly. Almost pity. "Then the next group of ferals will succeed, and your nephew will lose the only family he has left." The words hit like a punch. Isabel closed her eyes, took a breath, opened them. "Fine, but I'm not getting in that SUV without answers, starting with what the hell a lord is, why vampires exist, and why I should trust you won't just kill me yourself." Sienna almost smiled. Almost. "Lord Ravenshade said you were brave. Get in. I'll explain on the way." Isabel got in. The SUV smelled like leather and gun oil. Sienna drove with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done tactical driving courses. They pulled out of the hospital lot, headed north toward downtown. "Vampires are real," Sienna began without preamble. "Have been for thousands of years. Most people never see one. Those who do either die or are turned. You're the exception. Why? Because you're interesting. And Lord Ravenshade hasn't been interested in anything for a very long time. The city slid past outside, Chicago at night, lights and shadows. Isabel watched it like she was seeing it for the first time. The ferals, they're vampires too? Degraded ones. When a vampire loses their humanity, they become feral. No higher thought, just hunger. They're hunted by the houses, pests. Houses? Vampire nobility. 5 great houses control North America. Ravenshade holds Chicago and the Midwest. He's been lord here for 300 years. 300 years? The man in the diner was 300 years old. Isabel's brain refused to process it. She shoved the information aside. Deal with the immediate threat first, existential crisis later. So why do his enemies care about me? Because you stood up to him. In public. That makes you either incredibly stupid or incredibly brave. Either way, it makes you a symbol. Lord Ravenshade showing interest in a human symbol means he's changing, and change makes people nervous. People? You mean vampires? Yes. They turned onto Michigan Avenue. The skyscrapers rose like monuments. At the end of the row, taller than the rest, was a spire of black glass and steel. Ravenshade Tower. The name was etched in silver letters 40 feet high. Sienna pulled into an underground garage. Security everywhere. Cameras. Armed guards who didn't look entirely human. The elevator took them to the 90th floor. It moved fast enough that Isabel's ears popped. When the doors opened, she stepped into another world. The penthouse was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. Chicago spread out like a circuit board, lights in every direction. The furniture was modern, expensive. Everything in shades of black, white, and silver. And standing by the fireplace, holding a crystal glass of something dark red that was definitely not wine, was Alaric Ravenshade. He'd traded the charcoal suit for black slacks and a white shirt, unbuttoned at the collar. He looked the same, ageless, dangerous. But when he turned and saw Isabel, something shifted in his expression. Relief? "You're alive," he said. His accent was clearer here. British. Old British, the kind you heard in historical films. Good. Sienna is efficient. Your friends tried to kill me in a hospital parking lot. Isabel's voice was steady, despite the adrenaline still singing through her veins. Want to explain that? They weren't friends. They were agents of chaos, sent by a rival. Cassius Draven, Sienna added. She moved to stand near the door, guard position. Alaric nodded. Cassius wants my territory. To get it, he needs to prove I'm weak. He thinks my interest in you is weakness. Is it? Alaric smiled. It was sharp. All edges. That remains to be seen. He set the glass down on a side table, walked toward her. Isabel's instinct was to back up. She didn't, held her ground. He stopped 5 feet away, close enough that she could see the details. The way his skin was too pale, too perfect. No pores, no imperfections, like marble. I'm going to tell you the truth, Isabel Thorne, because you deserve it after what you've been through tonight. I'm listening. I'm dying. Of all the things she'd expected him to say, that wasn't one of them. You're a vampire. I thought you were immortal. Immortal, yes. Invulnerable, no. He touched his chest, over his heart. Silver poisoning. I was shot in June of 1940. Battle of France. Nazi invasion. A Wehrmacht officer had blessed ammunition. Silver blessed by a Catholic priest. The bullets didn't kill me. But they've been spreading through my system ever since, slowly, like cancer. Isabel's medic training kicked in automatically. That's not possible. Silver is our weakness, our Achilles heel. Normally, a vampire's body expels it within hours, but blessed silver bonds to our tissue. It's been 85 years. It's reached my brain now, causes hallucinations. PTSD. I'm losing control. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. When vampires lose control, Sienna said quietly from the door, they become ferals, like the ones who attacked you. Isabel looked between them. So what does this have to do with me? Alaric's ice-water eyes met hers. In 300 years, nothing has surprised me. Nothing has made me feel. I've been cold, Isabel. So cold I forgot what warmth was. And then you, a human waitress with burned hands and more courage than sense, looked me in the eye and told me to get out. He took a breath, unnecessary for him probably, habit from when he was human. For the first time in decades, I felt something, shock, respect, interest. You made me feel human again. That's what we call an anchor. An anchor. A human who grounds a vampire, reminds them of their humanity, keeps them from sliding into the darkness. He gestured to the window, the city beyond. It's rare, it's precious, and it might be the only thing that saves me from becoming the monster I've spent 3 centuries fighting against. Isabel processed that. All of it. Vampires, silver poisoning, anchors. Then she thought about Owen, about the money, about the fact that 3 nightmare creatures had tried to murder her an hour ago. What do you want from me? 6 months of your life. Live here, under protection. Spend time with me. Help me remember what it means to be human. In return, I'll clear your debts, all of them. Your nephew's medical bills, past and future, your rent, everything. And if I say no? Alaric's expression didn't change. Then you walk out that door. Sienna will drive you home. You'll never see me again. But Cassius Draven will keep sending ferals. And eventually, one of them will succeed, because I won't be there to protect someone who isn't mine. Mine. The word carried weight. How much are we talking about? Dollar amount. Alaric walked to a desk, pulled out a folder, set it on the coffee table between them. Your nephew's treatment. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Estimated cost for full treatment, including experimental therapy if the standard protocol fails, $240,000. Your current debt, $200,000. Future payments, $40,000, possibly more. He'd done his research, knew everything. I'm offering you $300,000. Paid directly to Chicago Memorial. Your nephew gets the best care available. No questions, no limits. And you get $15,000 a month for living expenses. $90,000 total. $390,000. Owen would live. Not just survive. Live. What's the catch? The catch is that by accepting, you become a target. Draven will see it as confirmation that you matter to me. He'll try to take you, use you, kill you to hurt me. Alaric's voice was steady, clinical. I'm offering you safety and money in exchange for danger and time. It's not a fair trade, but it's the only one I have. Isabel sat down on the leather couch. Her legs suddenly didn't want to hold her anymore. 6 months. 6 months in a glass tower with a dying vampire lord and his enemies trying to kill her. 6 months that would save Owen's life. She thought about Caroline, her sister, dead at 33 from a needle in her arm. She thought about the promise she'd made at the funeral, that Owen would have a chance, a real chance. She looked up at Alaric Ravenshade. 300-year-old vampire, monster, predator, and maybe, if what he said was true, the only thing standing between her nephew and an early grave. I have conditions. Alaric raised an eyebrow. Go on. 1. Owen lives here too. If I'm under protection, so is he. He's cleared for discharge next week if his counts stay up. He stays with me. Agreed. 2. I want combat training from her. She pointed at Sienna. I'm not being helpless again. Sienna nodded. Alaric said, agreed. 3. You never shout at me again. Ever. That's in the contract. You break that, the deal is void. I walk. Alaric stared at her. Then, slowly, he smiled. A real smile. It transformed his face, made him look almost human. You're going to add a morality clause to a contract with a vampire. Yes. Unprecedented. Good. Then you'll remember it. He laughed. Actual laughter. It sounded rusty, like he hadn't done it in years. Deal, Isabel Thorne. I swear on my house and my blood, I will not shout at you, and if I do, you're free to walk away. He extended his hand. Isabel stood, looked at his hand, pale, cold, offered in equal terms. She took it. His grip was firm but careful, like he was afraid he'd break her if he squeezed too hard. 6 months, she said. 6 months. They shook on it. And in that moment, standing in a penthouse 90 floors above Chicago, Isabel Thorne made a deal with a monster to save a child's life. She didn't know it yet, but that handshake would start a war, that it would bring an empire to its knees, that it would teach a 300-year-old vampire what it meant to be human again, and that it would teach a 42-year-old waitress that sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't fighting the monster. It's standing beside it when everyone else runs away. Sienna stepped forward, produced a document, 20 pages, legal language. Alaric's signature already at the bottom in sharp, angular script. "Sign here," Sienna said, "and your nephew gets his treatment tomorrow morning." Isabel read the contract, every word. She'd learned in the Army, never sign anything without reading it first. It was all there. $300,000 to Chicago Memorial, $90,000 to her, $15 per month. Housing provided, protection guaranteed, duration 6 months from date of signature, and in Section 7, subsection C, handwritten in fresh ink, should Lord Alaric Ravenshade raise his voice in anger toward contractor I. Thorne, this agreement is void, and all payments remain intact. He'd added it, her condition, in writing. She signed. Alaric countersigned. It was done. Sienna took the contract. "I'll file this with the house registry. Miss Thorne, your room is ready. East wing, 3rd door. Your belongings will be retrieved tomorrow. What about Owen? I'll have a medical team at Chicago Memorial by 8 a.m. They'll coordinate his discharge and transport. He'll be here by noon." Everything moving fast. Military precision. Isabel felt the weight of it settling on her shoulders. The decision. The commitment. Alaric must have seen it on her face. He spoke quietly. "You can still change your mind, right now, before it's registered." She met his eyes. Those ice-water eyes that had seen 300 years of darkness. "No, a deal's a deal. I keep my word." "Then welcome to Ravenshade Tower, Isabel Thorne." He raised his glass in a small salute. "Try not to die in the first week. It would be terribly inconvenient." Despite everything, the fear, the exhaustion, the sheer insanity of the situation, Isabel smiled. "I'll do my best." Sienna led her to the east wing. The room was larger than her entire apartment. King bed. Attached bathroom with a shower big enough for 3 people. Windows overlooking the city. "Rest," Sienna said. "Tomorrow, your real training begins." When the door closed, Isabel sat on the edge of the bed. She looked at her hands, scarred from years of work, burned from hot coffee pots and fryer accidents, trembling slightly from adrenaline crash. These hands had pulled soldiers from burning vehicles. These hands had held Owen when he cried. These hands had signed a contract with a vampire. She lay back on sheets that probably cost more than her car, stared at the ceiling. Outside, the city hummed with life, oblivious to the fact that monsters walked among them. Sleep didn't come easy, but when it did, Isabel Thorne dreamed of ice-water eyes and cracked tables, and a 9-year-old boy who would live to see his 10th birthday. And that, she decided, was worth any price, even this one. The first week in Ravenshade Tower taught Isabel 3 things. 1. Luxury didn't make captivity comfortable. 2. Vampires didn't sleep, which meant Alaric Ravenshade worked through the night and expected meetings at 3 a.m. like it was perfectly normal. 3. The world she'd known, the world of diners and hospital bills and paycheck-to-paycheck survival, was a carefully maintained lie. Underneath it, in the shadows, an entirely different civilization existed, and she was now part of it. Owen arrived on day 2, transported by private medical ambulance, accompanied by a team of specialists who made Chicago Memorial's oncology department look like a county clinic. They set up a medical suite in the tower's west wing, state-of-the-art equipment, a pediatric oncologist on 24-hour call, medications that Isabel couldn't even pronounce. When she asked Alaric how much it cost, He'd waved the question away like it was meaningless. Money is a tool, Isabel. I've had 300 years to accumulate it. Let me use it for something that matters. Owen had stared at the suite, private room, gaming console, windows overlooking the city, with the wide-eyed wonder of a kid who'd spent 2 years in hospital beds surrounded by beeping machines and antiseptic smell. "This is where we're staying?" His voice was small, uncertain, like he was afraid someone would take it away. "Yeah, kiddo, this is home now, for a while." "It's awesome." Isabel had hugged him, tight, felt his thin shoulders, the fragility of him, but also the strength. Owen was a fighter, always had been. That night, Alaric had appeared in the doorway of Owen's room, silent, watching. When Owen noticed him, the boy had gone very still. "You're him, the vampire lord." Alaric nodded. "I am, and you must be Owen." "Yes, sir." "Do I frighten you?" Owen considered that, really considered it, then shook his head. "No, sir. Aunt Izzy says you're helping us. People who help aren't scary." Something passed across Alaric's face. Emotion, raw and unexpected. He looked at Isabel, then back at Owen. "Your aunt is a remarkable woman, brave, stubborn, stronger than she knows. She pulled soldiers out of burning trucks in the war," Owen said proudly. "She's a hero." "Yes," Alaric said quietly, "she is." He'd left after that, but Isabel had seen the way his hands trembled slightly, the way he'd gripped the doorframe like he needed the support. Later, Sienna explained, he lost a son, Thomas, May of 1941, London Blitz, 8 years old. Bomb shelter took a direct hit while Lord Ravenshade was in France. He wasn't there to protect him. God. He hasn't been near children since. Can't handle it. Too painful. But Owen, Sienna paused. Owen might be exactly what he needs, if he can bear it. Training started on day 3 a.m. Sienna knocked on Isabel's door with the polite insistence of someone who would break it down if ignored. "We start now. Dress for combat." The training room was on the 75th floor. Padded mats, weapons rack, punching bags, everything you'd need to turn a civilian into a fighter. Sienna didn't ease her into it. "You have military training. Good. But that was 15 years ago. Your muscle memory is there. We're going to wake it up." For 2 hours, Sienna put Isabel through drills, hand-to-hand combat, pressure points, how to fight someone stronger and faster, how to create distance, how to survive long enough for help to arrive. Isabel's body remembered. The movements came back, sloppy at first, then cleaner, sharper. By the end, she was drenched in sweat, and her wrist ached like fire. But she'd held her own, mostly. "You're slow," Sienna said, handing her a water bottle, "but you think tactically. That's good. Speed we can build. Intelligence is harder to teach." "Thanks, I think. Tomorrow we start weapons training. Knives, guns, crossbow if you have the arm strength." "Crossbow?" "Silver-tipped bolts. Only reliable way to stop a vampire at range." Sienna's expression was flat, matter-of-fact. "If Draven's people come for you again, I won't always be there. You need to be able to defend yourself." Over the next 3 weeks, training became routine. 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Combat, weapons, tactics, then breakfast with Owen, then meetings with Alaric. The meetings were strange. Alaric would summon her to his office, a massive room lined with books, some of them centuries old, and they'd talk. About nothing, about everything. He asked about her childhood, her time in Iraq, what it felt like to save lives, what it felt like to lose them. In return, he told her about his past, carefully, in pieces. He'd been human once, born in 1344, England, son of a minor lord, turned during the Black Plague by a vampire who saw potential in a young man willing to burn the bodies of plague victims when everyone else fled. "I was 26 when I died," Alaric said one evening. They were in the library, rain against the windows, Chicago's version of autumn settling in. "I thought I was getting a second chance at life, didn't realize I was getting a prison sentence." "Immortality is a prison? When everyone you love dies and you keep living?" "Yes, He looked out at the city. I've buried 3 wives, 2 human, 1 vampire. I've watched empires rise and fall. I've seen humanity at its best and worst. And through it all, I've had to keep pretending I care, that any of it matters. But it does matter, does it? He turned to her. Tell me, Isabel, if you knew you'd outlive Owen by 300 years, would you still love him? Would you still fight for him? Or would you start building walls to protect yourself from the inevitable loss? Isabel didn't hesitate. I'd fight for him every day, for as long as I had. Alaric smiled, sad, wistful. That's the difference between you and me. You still believe in fighting. I'd forgotten how. These conversations did something. Isabel felt it, a connection forming, not romantic. Something deeper, like 2 soldiers who'd seen combat recognizing each other across a crowded room, the anchor bond. She started noticing things. When Alaric was tense, her shoulders would tighten. When she was angry, his jaw would clench. The emotional bleed was subtle, but undeniable. And his PTSD episodes, the flashbacks to France, the hallucinations caused by silver poisoning, decreased. Not gone, but manageable. You're helping him, Sienna confirmed during a water break in week 4. The anchor bond is working. He's more stable than he's been in years. Is that normal? There's no normal with this. Every anchor bond is different. But you're good for him. He's more human around you. Isabel didn't know how to feel about that. Garrett Vale entered her life in week 2. He appeared at breakfast one morning, distinguished, 60-something in appearance, though Isabel now knew appearances meant nothing. Silver hair, kind eyes, grandfatherly smile. Ms. Thorne, I'm Garrett Vale, Lord Ravenshade's senior steward. I manage the household, finances, and day-to-day operations. He offered his hand. Isabel shook it. Warm, firm, human. You're not a vampire. No, I'm human. Enhanced, but human. Lord Ravenshade employs several of us. We handle the aspects of his life that require daylight activity. How long have you worked for him? 42 years. Since I was 25. My father worked for him before that, and his father before him. The Vale family has served House Ravenshade for 240 years. Generational service. Loyalty bred into bloodlines. That's a long time. It's an honor. Garrett's smile was warm, genuine. Lord Ravenshade is a good man, better than most humans I've known. He takes care of those who serve him. My salary has given my children Ivy League educations. My grandchildren want for nothing. Loyalty repays loyalty. Over the following weeks, Garrett became a fixture. He'd help Isabel navigate the tower's labyrinthine social structure, explained vampire politics, the 5 great houses, the council, the territories. He was patient, thorough, answered every question she had, and he asked questions too. You're adapting well, he said one afternoon. They were in the study. Garrett reviewing financial reports. Isabel reading a book on vampire history that Alaric had recommended. Trying to. It's a difficult world to enter. Most humans who learn about us either go mad or beg to be turned. You've done neither. I've got a nephew to take care of. Madness is a luxury I can't afford. Garrett chuckled. Practical. I like that. He paused. Ms. Thorne, I need to discuss security protocols with you, specifically regarding your personal devices. My phone? Yes. With the threats from Draven's faction, we need to ensure your communications are secure. Would you mind if I installed additional encryption and perhaps set up 2-factor authentication? I'd need your passwords to configure it properly. It seemed reasonable. Garrett had been nothing but helpful, professional, trustworthy. Sure, my password is Owen2015, his birth year. Garrett typed it into his tablet. Got it. I'll have our IT team handle the encryption by tonight. You'll receive a notification when it's complete. Thanks, Garrett. Of course, Miss Thorne. Keeping you safe is part of keeping Lord Ravenshade stable, and that benefits everyone. He left. Isabel didn't think anything of it, didn't notice the way Garrett's smile had shifted. Just slightly. Didn't see the calculation in his eyes as he walked away. Looking back, she'd realized that was the moment when the trap was set. The quiet moment came 3 weeks in. Isabel found Alaric in the library late one night. 2 a.m. She couldn't sleep. Nightmares, the usual. Iraq dreams mixed with new ones. Ferals with yellow eyes and metallic teeth. Alaric was sitting in one of the leather chairs by the fireplace, chessboard set up in front of him, playing against himself. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "Bad dreams." "I know the feeling." He moved a knight. "Join me?" Isabel sat across from him. The fire crackled. Outside, Chicago was a galaxy of lights. "Do you know how to play?" "Basic. Owen's been teaching me, or trying to." "He's a smart boy, tactical mind." Alaric reset the board. "I've been teaching him some advanced strategies. He picks them up quickly." "You've been spending time with him?" "Yes." Alaric's voice was careful, controlled. "Is that, acceptable?" "Of course. He talks about you at dinner, says you're teaching him chess and history, World War II stuff." Alaric was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was rougher. "I wasn't there when my son died. Thomas. He was 8. Same age as Owen." The Blitz hit London in May of 1941. My family was supposed to evacuate to the countryside, but Thomas was sick. Fever. They delayed, long enough for a bomber to drop a 1,000-pounder on their shelter. He moved a pawn. I was in France, still trapped behind German lines. Covert work. Thought I was doing important work, saving lives. I got word 3 weeks later. By then they'd been buried. I never saw his body, never said goodbye. He looked up, met her eyes. "For 84 years, I've avoided children. Couldn't bear it. The reminder, the guilt. But Owen's different. He's proof that good still exists, that fighting for something matters, that maybe, if I'd been there, I could have saved Thomas. But I can be here now, for Owen. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what redemption looks like." Isabel reached across the board, put her hand over Alaric's. His skin was cold, but not unpleasantly so, familiar now. "You're a good man, Alaric Ravenshade. Despite everything, despite the darkness, you're still fighting to be good, only because you remind me how." They sat like that, hand in hand across a chessboard, 2 broken people finding something whole in each other's company, not romance. 2 people who'd earned each other's trust. And that was rarer, more valuable. The Solstice Gala was announced in week 5. "You'll accompany Lord Ravenshade as his anchor," Sienna explained during training. "It's political theater. Show the other houses that he's stable, that the anchor bond is working." "Is it working?" "Yes. His PTSD episodes have decreased 60%. Silver poisoning spread has slowed. You're saving his life, Isabel, one conversation at a time." The gala was held at the Union League Club, historic building, old money. The kind of place where presidents gave speeches and treaties were signed. A team of stylists arrived at the tower the morning of the event. They descended on Isabel like a tactical squad. Hair, makeup, nails. The dress was blood red, velvet. It hugged her frame before flowing to the floor, elegant but practical. She could move in it, run if needed. The necklace came last. Sienna presented it personally, obsidian pendant on a silver chain. Beautiful, deceptively simple. "Shield generator," Sienna explained as she fastened it around Isabel's neck. "Stops bullets, slows blades. Won't stop vampire claws, but it'll buy you 3 seconds. Use them wisely." Comforting. It's the best we can do. When Isabel looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The woman staring back looked powerful, dangerous, like someone who belonged in this world. Alaric was waiting in the tower's grand foyer. He wore a tuxedo that fit him with supernatural precision. All black, no color, he looked devastating, ancient and ageless at once. When he saw Isabel, he stopped. "You look formidable. Is that vampire for nice dress?" A smile. "It's vampire for the other houses are going to see you and understand why I chose you as my anchor." They took a private car, armored, bulletproof glass. Sienna drove with 2 additional guards in a follow vehicle. The Union League was transformed, chandeliers glittering, string quartet playing Vivaldi, 200 guests in evening wear, senators, CEOs, society elite, and among them, moving with predatory grace, were vampires. Isabel felt them before she saw them, the temperature drop, the way conversations shifted when they passed. These were the real power players, the ones who pulled strings from the shadows. The herald announced them as they descended the grand staircase. Lord Alaric Ravenshade, Master of Chicago, and his companion Isabel Thorne. Every head turned. Isabel felt the weight of those stares. Curiosity, hostility, hunger. She lifted her chin, held Alaric's arm, projected confidence she didn't entirely feel. They reached the ballroom floor. The crowd parted, and from that crowd stepped Cassius Draven. He was beautiful, no other word for it. Tall, blonde hair slicked back, sharp cheekbones, gray eyes like storm clouds. He wore a white dinner jacket that should have looked dated but somehow worked. He smiled, all teeth. "Alaric, we didn't think you'd actually attend. And with your pet, how quaint." "Cassius," Alaric's voice was ice. "This is Isabel Thorne, my anchor. You'll address her with respect." Cassius turned his full attention to Isabel. His gaze was a physical thing, invasive, assessing. "An anchor? How charming. Tell me, Ms. Thorne, do you know what happened to the last human who served as anchor to a house lord?" "I assume she lived a long and happy life." "She lasted 6 days before his enemies tore her apart. Humans are so fragile. They break easily." Isabel stepped closer, into his space, the same way she had with Alaric in the diner. "I don't break, Mr. Draven. I endure. And unlike you, I don't need to drink blood to feel powerful." A collective gasp rippled through the nearby vampires. "You didn't speak to Cassius Draven like that." Cassius's smile faltered, just for a second. His eyes narrowed. "Spirited. I see the appeal." He leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper meant only for her. "Enjoy the party, Ms. Thorne. The food is to die for." He walked away. Alaric's grip on her arm tightened. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Despite everything, the fear, the tension, Alaric laughed. Quiet. Genuine. "Come, let's dance before someone tries to poison your champagne." The waltz was slow, haunting. Alaric led with the practiced ease of someone who danced for centuries. Isabel followed. Her army training had included ballroom dance, surprisingly. Officer social functions. She remembered enough not to embarrass herself. They moved across the floor. Other couples gave them space, all eyes watching. "You're doing well," Alaric murmured. "Better than I expected." Low bar? Honest assessment. As they turned, Isabel caught glimpses of the room, the vampires, the humans under thrall, the power dynamics playing out in every conversation. This was Alaric's world, and for 6 months it was hers too. "Alaric," she said quietly, "why did you really choose me?" "The truth." He was silent for a long moment then. "Because when you looked at me in that diner, you didn't see a monster. You saw a man being rude, and you treated me like I was human. No fear, no awe, just accountability. I haven't been held accountable in 300 years. Everyone should be held accountable. Yes, they should." The music swelled. The moment stretched. They were close now, very close. Isabel could see the details of his face, the way his eyes weren't quite one color, blue and silver and something else, ancient. For a heartbeat, she thought he might kiss her. For a heartbeat, she wasn't sure what she'd do if he did. Then Sienna appeared, moving fast, urgent. "Sir, we have a problem." The spell broke. Alaric stepped back. All business. "What kind of problem?" "Security breach. Data transfer from an unauthorized device. It's coming from inside the network." Alaric's expression turned to stone. "Source?" Sienna looked at Isabel. Her face was pained. "Ms. Thorne's phone. Someone sent encrypted files to an external server 20 minutes ago. Security codes, patrol routes, everything. The ballroom didn't stop. The music kept playing. But Isabel's world tilted. What? No, I haven't touched my phone all night. It's in my purse in the coat check. Sienna produced a tablet, showed the screen. Transfer logs, time stamped. Isabel's phone ID, recipient unknown, but traced to servers linked to Cassius Draven's network. 20 minutes ago, right when you started dancing, Alaric's eyes went to Isabel. Cold. So cold. Show me your phone. Alaric, I didn't. Show me your phone. His voice cracked like a whip. Isabel fumbled for her purse, retrieved the phone, unlocked it with shaking hands. Alaric took it, scrolled, tapped. His jaw clenched tighter with every second. He turned the screen toward her, sent messages, files attached, security protocols, maps of the tower, guard rotations, all sent from her phone, all sent while she was dancing with him. You gave them everything. His voice trembled with barely controlled rage. The security codes, the location of my private chambers, my vulnerabilities. You gave Draven everything he needs to kill me. I didn't send those. Someone hacked my phone. Alaric, look at me. Maybe he offered you more. Alaric's eyes were glacial. Dead. Maybe I wasn't generous enough. What was the price, Isabel? How much to betray me? It's not about money. I wouldn't. Lies. The roar shattered the moment. It cracked champagne glasses, made the chandeliers sway. Vampires throughout the ballroom turned to stare. Alaric had shouted. The contract clause. You just shouted at me, Isabel said. Her voice was steady, despite the tears stinging her eyes. The contract is void. The contract was void the moment you betrayed me. Alaric stepped back, looked at Sienna. Take her to the holding cells, tower basement. I'll deal with her after I secure the perimeter. Alaric, please, think. If I was a spy, why would I use my own phone? It's a setup. Someone is framing me. Get her out of my sight before I do something we'll both regret. Sienna moved forward, gripped Isabel's arm. Not gentle, professional, cold. As Isabel was led through the ballroom, past the staring vampires, past the humans who whispered and pointed, she saw Cassius Draven near the exit. He raised a champagne flute, winked, and Isabel understood. This was the plan, the trap, and she'd walked right into it. But who had set it? Who had access to her phone, her passwords? The answer sat in her memory like a splinter. Garrett. For security purposes, he'd said. I'll need your passwords. Oh, God. Sienna! Isabel hissed as they reached the exit. Garrett Vale. He has my passwords. He could have... Garrett has served this house for over 2 centuries. His family even longer. Accusing him won't help you. They reached the armored car. Different one. Prison transport. Sienna shoved Isabel into the back, locked the doors, bulletproof cage separating them. The driver pulled out, headed back toward Ravenshade Tower. Isabel's mind raced. The pieces clicked together. Garrett, access, opportunity, motive. What motive could a man whose family had served loyally for 240 years possibly have? The answer came with sickening clarity. Everyone had a price, and someone had met Garrett's. The car turned onto Michigan Avenue, 3 blocks from the tower. Then the explosion hit. The street ahead erupted, fireball rising 30 feet, manhole cover launching into the air like a missile. The driver slammed the brakes, swerved. Too late. A second explosion, this one behind them. Trap. Classic ambush. Mercenaries rappelled from the surrounding buildings. Tactical gear, military precision. They weren't ferals. These were professionals. Bullets hammered the car. Armor-piercing rounds. The windows spiderwebbed, but held. Sienna kicked the driver's seat. Evasive! Now! The driver slumped over, headshot through the fractured windshield. Dead. Sienna cursed, kicked open her door, rolled out. Drew 2 handguns and started returning fire. Isabel was trapped in the cage, useless. Sienna, let me out! You're a prisoner. I'm also a soldier, and we're about to die if you don't give me a weapon. Sienna made a decision, threw keys through the cage slot. If you run, I hunt you. Not running, fighting. Isabel unlocked the cage, scrambled out of the car. Sienna tossed her a spare pistol. "They're hitting the tower. This is a distraction. Draven's forces are going for Alaric while he's vulnerable. We have to go back. You're the traitor, remember? I'm the only one who can prove Garrett set me up." Isabel checked the gun. 17 rounds. "And if Alaric dies, Owen loses his protection. I'm not letting that happen." Sienna stared at her, evaluating, then nodded. "Service tunnel, 2 blocks west. Bypass the lobby chaos." They ran. The tower was a war zone, lobby filled with bodies, Alaric's guards fighting Draven's mercenaries. Gunfire, screams. The elevators were shut down. Emergency lockdown. Sienna led Isabel through a maintenance entrance, service tunnel, freight elevator that bypassed the main systems. They rode in silence, weapons ready. "If you're lying," Sienna said quietly, "if you really did betray him, I'll kill you. Slowly." "I know." The elevator opened on the 90th floor. The penthouse was destroyed. Furniture overturned. Art slashed. Bodies of guards scattered across the marble. Blood, red and black, pooled on the floor. But no gunfire, no fighting. Eerie silence. They moved through the wreckage. Tactical formation. Sienna on point. They reached the library. The heavy doors were blown off their hinges. Inside, the scene was a nightmare. Alaric was on his knees, gripping the edge of his desk, coughing. Black blood. His skin was turning gray, veins bulging dark beneath the surface. Silver poisoning accelerated, critically. Standing over him was Garrett Vale, distinguished, grandfatherly, holding a tablet in one hand and a crystal decanter in the other. He was calmly pouring himself a drink from Alaric's personal reserve. "Why?" Alaric rasped, trying to stand, collapsing back down. 240 years, Garrett. Your family. Why?" Garrett sipped the whiskey, savored it. "Because, my lord, 240 years is a long time to be furniture." He walked around the desk, casual, unhurried. "Do you know what it's like? My grandfather served you. My father served you. I've served you for 42 years, watching younger men, younger vampires, receive territories, titles, respect, while I manage your finances, arrange your meetings, clean up your mistakes. The Vale family has given you everything. And what do we have to show for it? I gave your family wealth, security, honor. You gave us servitude." Garrett's voice turned bitter. "Cassius Draven offered me something better. Partnership. 40% of Chicago's holdings when he takes your territory. $400 million. And Baltimore. My own city to rule." He pulled a gold-plated revolver from his jacket, aimed it at Alaric's head. "It's just business, old friend. Nothing personal. You framed her." Alaric's voice was weak, fading. "Isabel, you hacked her phone. Of course, she was perfect, the outsider, the human anchor you trusted too quickly. Classic misdirection. You were so ready to believe she'd betray you, so desperate to prove that humans can't be trusted. That hesitation, that gave me the window I needed." Garrett cocked the hammer. "Goodbye, Lord Ravenshade. Thank you for the generous severance package." Bang! The shot rang out. But Alaric didn't fall. Garrett staggered back, clutching his shoulder. Blood, human blood, red and bright, spreading across his shirt. Isabel stood in the doorway, pistol raised, smoking. Her aim had been off, shoulder instead of heart, but good enough. "Get away from him!" Garrett roared. His face shifted. Not vampire. Something else. Enhanced human, chemically altered, stronger, faster, modified. He lunged. Sienna intercepted. Blade met modified flesh. They crashed through the library window, out onto the terrace, a flurry of violence and broken glass. Isabel dropped the gun, sprinted to Alaric, slid to her knees beside him. "Alaric, look at me." His eyes were rolling back. The wolfsbane, whatever Garrett had poisoned him with, was shutting down his system. Vampires could survive almost anything, but wolfsbane attacked their specific biology, shut down the heart, the brain. "Isabel, you came back. I told you," she gripped his face. "I don't break and I don't quit. Leave me. Draven is coming." "Shut up." She grabbed his arm, hauled it over her shoulder. You promised Owen you'd teach him about D-Day. You promised me 6 months. Keep your promises." She dragged him. He was dead weight, impossibly heavy. But adrenaline and sheer stubbornness made her strong. Behind the bookcase, the hidden panel Alaric had shown her once. Panic room. She pulled him inside, slammed her hand on the button. The steel door hissed shut, locked with a definitive thud. Seconds later, bullets sparked against the metal, muffled shouts, footsteps. They were sealed in. Safe. For now. The panic room was 12 feet by 12 feet. Steel walls. Reinforced door rated to withstand anti-tank rounds. Monitors showing every angle of the penthouse. Weapons rack. Medical cabinet. And one dying vampire. Isabel lowered Alaric to the floor. His back hit the wall. He slumped. Gray spreading across his skin like frost on glass. Black blood leaked from the corner of his mouth. Outside, muffled by 3 inches of steel, footsteps. Voices. Cassius Draven's forces searching. Hunting. "How long?" Isabel asked. Her voice was steady. Combat mode. Medic mode. Push the fear down. Focus on the problem. "Until they breach?" Alaric's voice was a rasp. Wet. Wrong. "Hours. Maybe less if they brought explosives." "No, how long until the poison kills you?" Alaric looked at her. Really looked at her. His ice-water eyes were dimming, losing their focus. "Minutes. Maybe 30. Wolfsbane concentrate, Garrett. He must have been dosing me for weeks. Building it up. Tonight was just the final push." 30 minutes. Isabel's mind raced. She scanned the panic room, saw the medical cabinet, crossed to it, yanked it open. Vials. Dozens of them. Labels in languages she didn't recognize. Chemical compounds. Antidotes for vampire-specific toxins. Which one? She pulled them out. Held them up. "Alaric, which one is the Wolfsbane antidote?" He tried to focus. Failed. "Blue. Blue vial. Silver stopper." Her hands moved. Training taking over. "Find the vial. Blue glass. Silver stopper." She grabbed it, found a syringe, drew the liquid, tapped out the air bubbles. She knelt beside him. "This goes in your heart, right? Like in the movies?" A ghost of a smile. "Not a movie, but yes, directly into the cardiac muscle. Has to reach the bloodstream fast." Isabel unbuttoned his shirt, exposed his chest, pale, marble. She could see the veins beneath the skin, black, poisoned. She positioned the needle over his heart. Her hand was steady. "This is going to hurt. Everything hurts." She drove the needle in. Alaric's back arched. His mouth opened in a silent scream. The sound that did come out was inhuman, a roar that made the steel walls vibrate. Isabel pushed the plunger, all of it, every drop, then withdrew the needle. Alaric collapsed, convulsing. His eyes rolled back, foam at his mouth, black and red mixing. Isabel grabbed his shoulders, held him down. Come on, fight it." For 10 seconds, nothing. Then his eyes flew open, glowing, not ice-water blue anymore, pure luminous white, like lightning. The gray receded from his skin. Color, what passed for color in a vampire, returned. The black veins faded. His breathing, unnecessary but habitual, steadied. He sagged against the wall, gasping. Isabel sat back on her heels. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash delayed but inevitable. Did it work? Alaric looked at her. His eyes were his again, blue, clear, aware. "You came back," he whispered. "I cast you out, accused you, nearly killed you, and you came back into the fire for me." "You're an idiot!" The words came out harsher than intended. Tears she'd been holding broke free. "But you're my idiot. For 6 months. Remember the contract." Alaric reached out, took her hand. His grip was gentle, careful, like he was afraid he'd break her. "I'm sorry, Isabel. I should have trusted you. Should have known it was a setup. But I've been alone so long that trust feels like weakness. It's not weakness, it's strength." He pulled her hand to his chest, over his heart. She could feel it beating, slow, steady, vampire rhythm. "You saved my life. Twice now. Once in the ER, once here. I owe you a debt I can never repay. You can start by getting up. Because Draven's army is outside that door and we need a plan." Alaric stood, steadier now, the antidote working. He moved to the weapons rack, selected a long blade, silver, serrated, designed to kill his own kind. "They think they have us trapped." His voice dropped to that lethal register she'd heard once before. In the diner, the voice of the predator. "They think the king is weak." He turned to her. His eyes were burning with ancient power, fury, purpose. "I'm going to open that door, Isabel, and I'm going to remind them why the monsters in the dark are afraid of me. What do I do? Stay behind me, and if anyone gets past me—" He grabbed a shotgun from the rack, handed it to her. "Make them regret it." She checked the chamber, loaded, silver slugs. "Ready?" Isabel thought about Owen, upstairs in the medical suite, protected by guards but still vulnerable. Thought about the promise she'd made to Caroline's ghost, that Owen would have a chance. "Ready!" Alaric's hand hovered over the door release. "For the record, Isabel Thorne, you are the bravest human I've met in 300 years. For the record, Alaric Ravenshade, you're about to do something incredibly stupid." He smiled, sharp, all edges. "I know." He hit the button. The steel door hissed open. For one heartbeat, there was silence. The mercenaries gathered in the ruins of the library raised their weapons. They expected surrender, expected begging. What they got was a hurricane. Alaric didn't walk out. He erupted. He moved faster than human eyes could track. One moment in the doorway, the next across the room, blade singing. The first mercenary didn't have time to scream. Alaric's sword took his head. Clean. The body stood for a moment, then collapsed. Gunfire erupted. Isabel dove behind the overturned desk. Bullets chewed through wood and marble. The noise was deafening. She counted muzzle flashes. 12 shooters, maybe more. Alaric was a blur, shadow and violence. He didn't dodge bullets so much as move through them, turned to mist when the rounds came too close, rematerialized behind his attackers, 3 dead in as many seconds. Isabel waited for the rhythm, combat instinct. Wait for the reload. Click, click, click. She popped up, shotgun to shoulder, aimed at a mercenary flanking Alaric's blind side. Boom! The slug caught him center mass. Silver exploded through his chest. He flew back, dead before he hit the ground. Alaric glanced at her, nodded. Acknowledgement. They were fighting together. 4 more mercenaries down. 5. 6. Alaric caught a grenade mid-throw, hurled it back. The explosion took out 3 more. Within 3 minutes, the library was silent. 12 bodies. Smoke. The smell of cordite and copper. Alaric stood in the center of the carnage, breathing hard. His shirt was torn. Blood, not his, splattered across his chest. He looked up. At the top of the spiral staircase leading to the upper gallery stood Cassius Draven, alone, slow clapping. Impressive. Cassius descended the stairs, casual, unhurried. The old wolf still has teeth. But you look tired, Alaric. That antidote, it's hard on the system, isn't it? Alaric gripped his sword. Come down here, Cassius, let's settle this. Oh, I intend to. Cassius reached the main floor. He removed his white dinner jacket, folded it carefully, set it on a chair that had somehow survived the chaos. He rolled up his sleeves. His forearms were covered in tattoos, runes, ancient, glowing faintly red. You see, I didn't come just for your territory. I came to prove a point. That age doesn't matter, that your time is over, that the old ways are dead. His hands lengthened, fingers extending, nails growing into 6-inch obsidian claws, black, razor sharp. No weapons, Cassius said, just you and me, king versus challenger. Alaric tossed his sword aside. It clattered against marble. Fine. They collided. The impact cracked the floor, shockwave that rattled the windows. They were too fast for Isabel to aim, blurs of motion, smashing through furniture, destroying what little remained of the library. Alaric was skilled, centuries of combat experience. But Cassius was right. Alaric was weakened. The wolfsbane, the antidote, The fight with the mercenaries. He was fading. Cassius landed a heavy blow. Backhanded Alaric across the room. Alaric crashed into the fireplace. Stone crumbling around him. He struggled to rise, coughed. More black blood. "It's over," Cassius said, stalking forward, predator to wounded prey. "You let your emotions make you weak. You let a human distract you." He raised his claws for the killing strike. Alaric was dazed, his sword 20 feet away. Too far. Isabel saw it happening, slow motion, time stretching. She had one shell left in the shotgun. She was 30 feet away. She wouldn't make it in time. She dropped the gun, grabbed a shard of broken glass from the floor, and she ran. Not at Cassius, at Alaric. "Alaric!" Cassius paused, confused, watching this human woman sprint toward her protector instead of away from danger. Isabel slid across the blood-slicked floor, grabbed Alaric's collar, hauled his face up to hers. His eyes were unfocused, lost. She slapped him, hard. The sound echoed. Cassius froze, staring. "You promised me a year!" Isabel screamed into Alaric's face. Shook him. "You promised Owen you'd teach him about D-Day. You promised to keep us safe. If you die here, you're breaking a contract. And I hate people who break contracts." She slapped him again. "Get up! You're the Lord of Chicago, the King of the Midwest. You've survived 300 years. Act like it." Something sparked in Alaric's eyes. The fog cleared, and something else happened. The anchor bond. It had been there all along, subtle, a background hum, emotional bleed, connection. But now, in this moment of desperate fury, it ignited. Isabel felt it. Like electricity, like fire. Her anger, her determination, her absolute refusal to give up. It poured out of her, into him, through him, and Alaric absorbed it. Her fury became his fury. Her will became his will. Her absolute conviction that he would not die here became his truth. His eyes blazed, not glowing white like before, glowing blue, burning blue, ancient power fueled by human determination. He stood. Cassius lunged. Alaric didn't dodge. He moved through the attack, caught Cassius's wrist mid-strike, twisted, bones snapped, sickening crunch. With his free hand, Alaric reached out, the discarded sword, 20 feet away. It flew to his hand, telekinesis, a power he hadn't had the strength for minutes ago, but now, fueled by the anchor bond, fueled by Isabel's rage, he had strength to spare. The blade slammed into his grip. In one fluid motion, Alaric drove it up, through Cassius's chest, pinned him to the marble column behind. Cassius gasped, black blood bubbling from his lips, his eyes wide, shocked. "How?" Cassius choked. "You were drained. Dying." Alaric leaned in close, voice cold, final. "I have something you don't, Cassius. Someone worth fighting for." He twisted the blade. Cassius Draven screamed, then dissolved. Ash, scattering. His white dinner jacket the only thing remaining, hanging on the chair like a ghost. The library fell silent. Alaric stood there, sword still extended, breathing hard. Then he let go of the weapon. It clattered to the floor. He turned around. Isabel was sitting on the floor, leaning against the ruined desk, her dress torn, hair a mess, covered in dust and blood. She looked exhausted. Alaric walked toward her, not with arrogance, not with the predatory grace of before. He walked slowly, hesitantly. He knelt in front of her, ignoring the glass shards digging into his knees. "Isabel," his voice cracked, "I almost killed you. I accused you. I let my fear turn me into exactly what I hate. There's no apology sufficient, no penance that could—" "You were scared." Isabel touched his cheek. Her hand was gentle. "You've been alone for 300 years. Trust is a muscle, Alaric. You haven't used it in a while. It's going to cramp up, going to fail sometimes." "I broke the contract. I shouted." "Yeah, you did." She managed a tired smile. "Technically, I should walk away right now." Alaric flinched, lowered his head, accepting the judgment. "I'll transfer the money. Owen's treatment continues. You're free to—" Isabel grabbed his tie, yanked him back down. "Sit!" He froze. "I said the deal ends if you shout at me again, as in a second time. You get one mistake, one, because everyone deserves a second chance." Her grip tightened. "But I'm willing to negotiate a new contract." Alaric's eyes widened. "You what?" "First term. No more secrets. If you think I'm a spy, you ask me. You don't lock me in a cell." "Agreed." "Second, Sienna keeps training me. I'm tired of being helpless." "Agreed." "Third," Isabel paused, looked at his face, saw the guilt, the hope, the desperate need for redemption. "You owe me a new dress. This one's ruined, and a really, really good dinner, somewhere nobody tries to kill us." Alaric smiled, genuine, transforming. For the first time he looked young, almost human. "I know a place, but the service is terrible." "Rosie's Diner? The fries are excellent." "Deal." They sat there, on the floor of a destroyed library, surrounded by bodies and ash and the wreckage of a battle. And Isabel Thorne and Alaric Ravenshade shook hands, two people who'd earned each other's trust. The aftermath was chaos. Sienna returned, battered but alive. She'd killed Garrett on the terrace, thrown him off the 90th floor. Enhanced human or not, 90 stories was fatal. "It's done," she reported. "Garrett's dead. Draven's forces are retreating. The tower is secure." "Good." Alaric stood, helped Isabel to her feet. "Call the council. Emergency session. I'm filing formal charges against the Draven house, an attempted assassination, corruption of house servants, breach of covenant." Within 2 hours, the summons arrived. The High Council would convene in 3 days. Philadelphia, neutral ground. The trial would determine the future of both houses. The council chamber was older than America, built in 1682, hidden beneath Independence Hall, a secret known only to the 5 great houses and their most trusted servants. The chamber was circular, marble, 5 thrones arranged in a semicircle. Each throne represented one of the ruling houses. Lord Caius of Rome sat center, 1,200 years old. Chairman of the council, he wore robes like a Roman senator. His face was carved granite. Lady Evangeline of Paris, 900 years, beautiful and terrible. Lord Constantine of Moscow, 850 years, built like a warrior. Lady Yuki of Kyoto, 1,000 years, small, delicate, deadly. Lord Octavius of London, 950 years, looking like he stepped out of a Dickens novel. Alaric and Isabel stood in the center of the chamber, Sienna behind them. Guard position. Across from them, representatives of the Draven house. Lawyers, accountants, no Cassius. He was ash. Lord Caius spoke. His voice echoed. "Lord Alaric Ravenshade, you accuse House Draven of assassination attempt and corruption. You claim your servant Garrett Vale was compromised." "I do." "Evidence?" Sienna stepped forward, then presented a tablet. "Garrett Vale's communications with Cassius Draven. Financial transfers, 40% stake in Chicago Holdings, $400 million, Baltimore territory in exchange for Lord Ravenshade's death." The council reviewed the evidence. Screens appeared, hovering, holographic, showing contracts, bank transfers, encrypted messages. It was damning. Lord Caius's expression didn't change. "Garrett Vale is dead. Cassius Draven is dead. The primary conspirators are beyond our justice." "But the betrayal remains," Alaric said. "A human servant corrupted. A house lord attacking another without formal challenge. This violated every covenant." "Perhaps." Lady Evangeline leaned forward. "But there is another matter. The human. Your anchor." All eyes turned to Isabel. She felt the weight of those stares. Vampires who'd lived centuries, who'd seen empires rise and fall, who could kill her with a thought. She lifted her chin, held her ground. "Mrs. Thorne," Lady Evangeline continued, "you underwent a blood bond with Lord Ravenshade without council approval. Article 47 of the Covenant forbids permanent bonds without consent of the ruling body." "The bond was necessary for medical treatment," Isabel said. her voice steady. Lord Ravenshade was dying from silver poisoning. The bond was the only way to slow the spread. The bond also creates dependency, makes a vampire vulnerable. This from Lord Constantine, Russian accent thick. You could control him, manipulate him. Or he could control me. But that's not what happened. We helped each other. Lord Octavius spoke, British, precise. The law exists to prevent humans from having power over our kind. Your bond makes you a liability. To Lord Ravenshade, to all of us. Alaric stepped forward. The bond saved my life. And tonight, when I was dying again, Isabel saved me. Without hesitation, without thought for her own safety. She ran into danger when every instinct said, run away. That's not liability. That's loyalty. Loyalty can be bought, Lady Yuki said, soft voice, deadly. Garrett Vale was loyal for 240 years, until he wasn't. Isabel is different. Prove it. The chamber fell silent. Lord Caius stood, imposing, ancient. The bond's legality is unprecedented. We cannot ignore covenant law, but neither can we ignore that it worked, that it stabilized a dying lord, that it prevented House Draven from taking Chicago. He looked at Alaric and Isabel. We invoke ancient right, trial by combat, not to the death, to submission. Lord Ravenshade will fight as himself, Miss Thorne as his anchor. If you win, the bond is sanctioned. Chicago remains yours. If you lose, Chicago goes to House Draven's remaining heirs, and the human anchor is dissolved. Dissolved? Isabel's voice cut through. What does that mean? Sienna whispered. Death. They'll kill you to break the bond. Isabel's blood ran cold. Alaric turned to the council. She's not a warrior, she's a medic. This isn't a fair trial. The bond was your choice. Face the consequences together or not at all. Lord Caius gestured. Guards appeared, leading someone into the chamber. Not someone. A vampire. Young, 20-something in appearance, 400 years in reality. Draven's nephew, heir to the house, Marcus Draven. He looked at Alaric with hatred. My uncle is ash because of you. I claim trial by combat. For House Draven, for my family, for vengeance. Accepted, Lord Caius said. The trial begins at sunset tomorrow. Standard arena, standard rules. Prepare yourselves. The arena was beneath the chamber. Stone, ancient. Bloodstains, centuries old. 100 vampires gathered to witness. Council members, House representatives. It was theater, politics, justice. Isabel stood at one end, Alaric beside her. They'd been given one night to prepare. They'd spent it in a secured room, talking, planning, making peace with the possibility that this might be their last conversation. I'm sorry, Alaric had said. This is my fault. The bond, the danger, all of it. Stop apologizing. We made a choice. Together. Now we fight. Together. You don't have to. I know I'm doing it anyway. Now, in the arena, facing Marcus Draven, Isabel felt the fear, but also something else. Certainty. This was right. This was where she needed to be. The herald announced the terms. Trial by combat. Lord Alaric Ravenshade and Anchor Isabel Thorne versus Lord Marcus Draven. Fight until submission. The bond is on trial. Begin. Marcus moved first. Fast. Brutal. 400 years of pent-up rage. He came at Alaric like a missile, claws extended, fangs bared. They clashed. The impact sent shockwaves through the arena. For the first 5 minutes, Alaric held his own, matched Marcus blow for blow. But Marcus was fresh, full strength, and Alaric was still recovering. The Wolfsbane, the battle with Cassius, the toll of the anchor bond. He was fading. Marcus saw it, pressed the advantage, landed a devastating kick that sent Alaric sprawling. You're weak, old man. Past your prime. You should have abdicated years ago. Alaric tried to stand, failed, collapsed. Marcus produced a silver spear. Where he'd hidden it, Isabel didn't know. But it was there, gleaming, deadly. For my uncle. He drove the spear through Alaric's chest, pinning him to the stone floor. Alaric screamed. The silver burned, smoke rising from the wound. The crowd gasped. Isabel felt it through the bond, the pain, the fading. Alaric was dying. Sienna grabbed her arm. If he dies, the bond kills you too. Run, you still have time. Isabel looked at the arena, at Alaric, pinned, dying, defeated. She thought about Owen, about the promise, about the contract they'd signed in blood and trust, about the fact that Alaric Ravenshade had kneeled before her in a destroyed library and asked for a second chance. Everyone deserved a second chance. She pulled away from Sienna and ran into the arena. Guards tried to stop her. Sienna held them back, bought her seconds. Isabel sprinted across the stone. Her shoes slipped. She kicked them off, ran barefoot. Marcus turned, saw her coming, smiled. The human wants to die with him. How romantic. Isabel ignored him, dropped to her knees beside Alaric. His eyes were glazed, fading. She grabbed his face. Hey, you promised me. Rosie's Diner, fries and coffee. You said you'd take me. Were you lying? No response. She slapped him. You promised Owen, promised to teach him chess, to tell him about history, about being brave. Were those lies too? Still nothing. Alaric Ravenshade, she shook him, voice breaking. You made a deal, 6 months. We're only at 2. You owe me 4 more. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care how much it hurts. You keep your promises. Do you hear me? Keep your promise. She grabbed the silver spear. The metal burned her hands, blistered. She screamed but didn't let go. She pulled. The spear came free, blood and smoke. She threw it aside, pressed her burned hands to the wound. Her blood mixed with his, and the anchor bond erupted. Not subtle this time, not gentle. It was a wildfire. Every emotion Isabel had ever felt poured into Alaric. Her fear in Iraq, her grief losing Caroline, her desperation saving Owen, her fury at injustice, her absolute refusal to quit when quitting was the logical choice. All of it. Into him. And Alaric absorbed it. His eyes blazed open, glowing. Blue fire. He stood. Isabel's determination became his. Her combat training from the army, the tactics, the strategies, the never-quit mentality flooded his 300-year-old instincts. He moved differently, fought differently. Marcus lunged again. Left, Isabel shouted. Alaric dodged left. Perfect timing. Duck! He ducked. Marcus's claws whistled over his head. Now! Alaric surged up, grabbed Marcus, threw him across the arena. They fought as one. Isabel calling directions, Alaric executing. Human and vampire, past and present. Mortal determination and immortal power. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was unstoppable. Within 3 minutes, Alaric had Marcus pinned, claws at his throat. Submit, Alaric growled. Marcus struggled, then felt the pressure, the certainty. He'd lost. I submit. Alaric released him, stepped back. The arena erupted. Cheers, gasps, debate. Lord Caius stood, raised his hand for silence. The trial is concluded. Lord Ravenshade and Anchor Thorn have proven the bond's value. We hereby sanction the anchor bond under new law, the Thorn Doctrine, medical necessity. Mutual consent, both participants accountable. He looked at Isabel. You ran into an arena unarmed to save someone everyone said was lost. That is either madness or courage. The Council believes it is courage. Welcome to our world, Miss Thorn, officially. Isabel couldn't speak. Her hands burned. Her body shook. But she nodded. Alaric helped her stand. They walked out of the arena together, 2 people who'd earned each other's trust. 6 months later. Ravenshade Tower looked different in daylight. Isabel had never seen it like this. She was usually sleeping when the sun was up, but today was different. Today was graduation day. The East Wing Medical Suite had been converted, expanded. Now it housed 20 beds, 10 for vampires suffering PTSD and silver poisoning, 10 for human veterans with combat trauma. the Ravenshade Veterans Program. Isabel ran it. Funded by the house, staffed by specialists. It was her creation, her legacy. Owen was thriving, his leukemia in remission. 8 months cancer-free. He'd grown 2 inches, put on weight, started school. He was almost unrecognizable from the fragile boy in the hospital bed. Right now he was in the tower's game room with Sienna. She was teaching him strategy, not just chess, real strategy. How to think 10 moves ahead. Isabel watched from the doorway. Alaric appeared beside her, silent as always. "He's brilliant," Alaric said. "Sharp mind. Could run a company someday, or lead an army. Let's aim for the company, less bloodshed." They stood in comfortable silence. Over the past months, things had shifted. The anchor bond had deepened, but not in a romantic way. 2 people who'd saved each other's lives and decided that was enough. "Are you ready?" Alaric asked. "For what?" "Tonight. Rosie's Diner. You, me, and the fries I owe you." Isabel smiled. "You remembered. I always keep my promises now. You taught me that." Rosie's Diner looked exactly the same. Neon sign buzzing. Formica tables. The smell of grease and coffee. Isabel and Alaric sat in booth 4, the one with the cracked table. They'd never fixed it. Left it as a reminder. Miller was at the counter. He nodded at Isabel. She waved back. Marco brought out the fries. Extra crispy, just how Isabel liked them. Alaric ordered coffee, black. They ate in silence for a while, the comfortable kind. "I never thanked you," Alaric finally said, "for running into that arena, for slapping me, for refusing to let me quit." "You would have done the same." "Maybe, but you did it first. That makes you braver." Isabel dipped a fry in ketchup. "We're even. You saved Owen. I saved you. That's how it works." "Is that what we are?" "What else would we be?" Alaric smiled. "I don't know, but I like it." When they finished, Alaric left a $100 bill under the salt shaker. Tip for Marco. As they walked out into the Chicago night, Isabel felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Her debts were clear. Owen was healthy. She had purpose. And she had a 300-year-old vampire who'd learned how to keep promises. Not a bad trade for 6 months of danger. "Isabel," Alaric said as they reached the car, "the contract is up next week. 6 months. You're free to leave if you want. I'll honor every term." She thought about it, really thought about it. Then she looked at the tower in the distance, at the life she'd built. "Ask me to stay." Alaric blinked. "What?" "You heard me? Ask. Don't command, don't assume. Ask." He smiled. "Isabel Thorne, will you stay? As my anchor. Not because of a contract, because you choose to." "Yes." Simple. Final. They shook hands. Again. Still equals. And as they drove back toward Ravenshade Tower, back toward a life that defied every expectation, Isabel thought about the lesson she'd learned. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't fighting the monster. It's standing beside it when everyone else runs. It's refusing to give up when giving up makes sense. It's keeping promises even when promises cost everything. 3 months later, that cracked Formica table still sits in Rosie's Diner, not as furniture, as a reminder. Isabel Thorne learned that true strength isn't never needing help. It's standing up when standing costs everything. It's running into the arena when every instinct screams, "Run away." Alaric Ravenshade learned that in 680 years he'd mistaken loyalty for servitude. That the greatest power wasn't commanding respect, it was earning it by kneeling first. Because sometimes the person society calls broken is the only one strong enough to heal what's shattered. For Isabel, that meant running into danger with nothing but burned hands and a soldier's oath. For Alaric, it meant learning what his son knew 84 years ago in that London rubble. Being immortal doesn't mean you live forever. It means you finally find something worth dying for. And that's a lesson no amount of time can teach. Only the right person at the right moment saying, "Keep your promise." Because the debt we owe isn't paid in blood or gold. It's paid in the promise to keep fighting when the other can't stand, and that's worth more than any kingdom. So I ask you, would you have run into that arena? Would you have slapped a vampire king to save his life? Or would you have taken the money and disappeared? Tell me in the comments below. Because sometimes the hardest question isn't whether you'd fight the monster, it's whether you'd stand beside it when everyone else runs. If you believe that keeping your word matters more than safety, hit that subscribe button. Next week, we meet the council member who's been watching Isabel from the shadows, someone who thinks her clinic is a threat to everything they've built. Thanks for watching. And remember, the strongest anchor isn't forged in gold. It's forged when you look fear in the eye and refuse to blink.